Chapter 31. Luo Yunshang said calmly, "Meng Wu, tell us what happened." Meng Wu walked out of the crowd timidly. With so many important people around, she carefully told them what happened that day. She included how she was teased by Zhun Liang, how Lai Yunxiao attacked her, and how she was injured by the divine guards of the kingdom before being captured by Long Hao. Every detail was explained very clearly. Jia Rong, who was in the crowd, was also drenched in cold sweat. This matter was actually caused by one of his students. Zhun Liang had only listened to his lessons a few times before calling himself his student. After a long time, Jia Rong didn't care anymore and took him in as a nominal disciple. He wanted to slap himself. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. After Meng Wu finished, Zhang Qingfen said coldly, "Sir Long, did you hear everything? We will temporarily take over the Long residence. If we really wronged you, I will take responsibility." He waved his hand, and his subordinates immediately spread out to search. The people of the Long Manor were all frightened out of their wits, all of them cowering in fear. "Who dared to act rashly?" Luo Yunshang said softly. "Sir Long, if we didn't have sufficient evidence, we wouldn't dare to seal your residence. Now that things have come to this, you should cooperate with us." Long King's aura immediately weakened. This time he was really in big trouble. He felt bitter. Zhang Qingfen stared at him and said coldly, "I only have one question for you now. Is Lai Yunxiao alive or dead?" Long King said dejectedly, "I don't know either. Everyone, please follow me. This is all the fault of my unfilial son. I just found out about it and you all came here." Now that things had come to this, he knew it was useless to struggle. The wisest choice was to cooperate with everyone and admit his mistake. As long as Lai Yunxiao was fine, there would be a chance for forgiveness. But if something happened to Lai Yunxiao, just thinking about it made his heart tremble. He hurriedly sped up and ran toward the dungeon. Lai Yunxiao stayed in the dungeon for 3 days and 3 nights. His broken meridians were all reconnected with the young girl technique, and the vital Kai in his body was instantly integrated. His face was overjoyed, and he hurriedly sat upright on the ground. His hands formed a seal, and he was as still as a mountain. Although his meridians had been reconnected, his body was as weak as an illness. His zhenki was faintly discernible. He was in the early stages of recovery from a serious illness. Streams of zhenki flowed from his danshan, circulating through his entire body without any obstructions. When it returned to his danshan, he felt his strength recovering slightly. The other people in the dungeon all stared at him blankly for the past 3 days, feeling that this person was especially strange. What was even more surprising was that his physical strength was so good that he stood like a statue for a long time without even eating a bite. Suddenly, Lai Yunxiao opened his eyes and sighed. "They came a few hours early. This is troublesome." A moment later, the sound of iron chains could be heard from outside the dungeon. The heavy door was suddenly opened, and a group of people walked in with lanterns in hand. There had been no light in the dungeon for a long time. Under the illumination of the lantern, everyone closed their eyes, feeling a sharp pain. Soon, more than 10 huge candlesticks were lit. Outside the dungeon was the interrogation room. Long Hao's shoulders were wrapped in bandages and plaster, and he sat on an armchair made of tiger skin. His face was bloodshot, and it was obvious that he had not fully recovered. His eyes were like hooks staring straight at the cell, and he said fiercely, "Bring that brat out. Today I will make him regret being born in this world." Pa. The iron chains of the dungeon were opened, and a few fully armored soldiers came in and dragged Lai Yunxiao out. Lai Yunxiao quickly calculated in his heart. There were a total of 35 people, and 12 of them were martial warriors. There was also a hunchbacked old man with dim eyes, but he was a martial master. His elemental energy had not recovered yet, so it would be difficult for him to kill his way out. Furthermore, the situation outside the Long residence was unclear, so he might as well play dead. He closed his eyes and let them drag him to the torture rack. His hands and feet were tied up with thick leather bands. "Wake him up. Be careful not to kill him." A few burly men poured buckets of salt water on Lai Yunxiao's body, sneering as they wanted to see his painful expression. The salt water was mixed with a special medicine, and once it came into contact with a wound, it would quickly corrode the muscles and blood vessels, causing unbearable pain. What surprised them was that Lai Yunxiao slowly opened his eyes and smiled. The injuries on his body had already healed. Although he still looked bloody and terrifying, there was not a trace of a wound. Thus, the salt water only washed away the blood stains. It was like waiting for a beautiful woman to strip in front of you, only to find out that it was a man. The perverted mentality of the burly men was not satisfied, and a trace of anger appeared on their faces. They snorted a few times, meaning to wait and see. Long Hao's cold voice sounded, "Brat, open your eyes and see who I am." "Who are you?" Lai Yunxiao spat out a mouthful of phlegm in disdain. "Do you really think you are someone important? You!" Long Hao exploded from the armchair and rushed over like a gust of wind, punching straight at Lai Yunxiao's chest. "That's what you get for being stubborn." Bang! A gust of Kai smashed into Lai Yunxiao's chest. Ah, it hurts. What surprised everyone was that the one who let out a scream was Long Hao. He used too much force, and a huge pain came from his bandaged shoulder, almost dislocating it again. His whole body was drenched in cold sweat, and he was furious. PFFT. Lai Yunxiao only felt a mouthful of hot blood rushing into his throat. He took a deep breath, opened his mouth, and spat out at Long Hao's face. Because he was too close, it was too late when he realized it. Long Hao, who could not avoid it, was directly sprayed with bloody phlegm, and his face was filled with a pungent smell. "Wah!" Long Hao cried out in anger and hurriedly took off his shirt. His subordinates hurriedly handed him a towel to wipe his face, but the faint smell could not be removed no matter what. Lai Yunxiao laughed. "Ha, now I see who you are. So it's you, a stray dog. Right, where's your green moon saber? Wah, bastard, kill him for me." Long Hao roared crazily. This matter was his sore spot, and it hurt even more than losing both his arms. That was a dark weapon that he exchanged for with his entire family's fortune. With the saber in hand, his strength multiplied. Now that it was all gone, he was completely enraged. "No, Brother Hao." Zhun Liang hurriedly came forward. "This kid knows that he's going to die, so he purposely provoked you to ask for a quick death. We haven't even prepared a feast for him. How can we let him die so easily?" Long Hao instantly calmed down and stared at Lai Yunxiao. "Good boy, I almost fell for your trap. Next, I'll let you have a good taste of the feast. Long De, serve him some appetizers and give him 100 lashes. Don't kill him." Lai Yunxiao's eyes were filled with confusion as if he did not hear their conversation. Just now, when Long Hao's fist had smashed down, although his internal organs had been shaken to the point of bleeding, the force of Kai had rushed into his body and was directly absorbed by his physical body. It had been transformed into a faint stream of true Kai and finally returned to his dantian. This discovery shocked him, and his mind instantly recalled the scene of his battle with Tyrant Emperor Wu. In order to fight for a position on the Heaven and Earth reputation list, the two of them fought for several days and nights, and the entire sanctuary was on the verge of collapsing. In the end, because Tyrant Emperor Wu's body was strong enough to resist his Kai, and as the battle went on, his advantage became more and more obvious. That was why he was defeated. Now that his mind was spinning, he instantly understood. Tyrant's body was not only able to resist Kai, it could actually absorb the opponent's Kai and use it for his own. Heavens, how could there be such an abnormal skill in this world? Cold sweat appeared on his forehead. It seemed that this tyrannical body refinement technique was no less magical than the divine evolution technique. But after thinking about it for a while, he also found the flaw of this skill. Although he could absorb the opponent's Kai, he had to take a blow from the opponent and let the Kai enter his body before it could be digested. This was also very risky. It did not matter if an ordinary martial artist took a few punches. But after reaching the Jyushan Emperor realm, who would dare to stand still and take a punch from Emperor Wu? Even Tyrant would not dare to let his opponent hit his body unless he had no other choice. Phew, that scared me to death. I thought this skill was invincible. Turns out it has a flaw. Lai Yunxiao heaved a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a pa sound came, and he felt a pain in his body. A weak Kai entered his body and was quickly absorbed by his body. The few burly men from before were naked, and each of them held a long whip in their hands. They looked at him excitedly, as if saying, "Aren't you very cool? See how I will deal with you now." There were small protruding points on the whip, and when the whip landed, the pain went straight to the bone. Pa, pa, pa. One man and one whip quickly hit each other. Drops of blood splashed out from Lai Yunxiao's body and fell all over the ground. Immense pain came from all over his body. The whip was also stained with medicine that corroded his wounds. Not only was it painful, but his skin was also festering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ah, tilde. Lai Yunxiao clenched his teeth and closed his eyes. A trace of Kai came from the whip. Although it was weak, it was continuous. Very soon it was all absorbed into his dantian, and he began to recover his Kai. This kid's bones are really hard. He took so many hits, and he didn't even make a sound. The hunchbacked old man's eyes suddenly lit up, and his face was full of surprise. He also knew the pain of the whip. Even a martial master would cry for their parents if they took a few hits. Zhun Liang sneered. "It's because his bones are hard that he's fun. Otherwise, he will beg for mercy or die after a few hits. What's the point? Then wouldn't we have prepared for nothing?" The old man heard this and nodded slightly, but he didn't say anything. When the few burly men heard their conversation, their eyes suddenly burned with anger. Lai Yunxiao didn't make a sound. It was obvious that he was mocking them for not using force and that the hits were not painful. They immediately lashed with all their might, and almost every hit brought out a large piece of flesh. After more than 100 hits, Lai Yunxiao's whole body was completely bloody, and there was not a piece of intact skin on his body. Chapter 32. The few burly men were so tired that they were gasping for breath. Just a little bit more, Lai Yunxiao counted in his heart. Just a little bit more, and I can completely recover to the peak of a 2-star. He suddenly opened his eyes and laughed mockingly. "A few good-for-nothings. Why are you so thick and strong? I didn't expect you to all be instant shooters. I only whipped you a few times and you surrendered. How long did you last? Don't tell me you guys are the legendary 12 seconds. Anger, rage, no matter how weak a man was, he could not let others say he was weak. The few burly men were so angry that their necks turned red. In an instant, they recovered to their peak. They jumped up and fiercely whipped down. Pa, 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 tilde, tilde, tilde. Not only did the strength increase, even the frequency increased. All of them whipped like crazy. Lai Yunxiao was secretly happy. Waves of Kai were absorbed by his body and turned into true power that was deposited in his dantian. After a few dozen times, his dantian was full of Kai and recovered to the peak of a 2-star. Just as he was about to break free and start killing, a light flashed in his mind. The bottleneck loosened, and he seemed to be about to break through. "All right, I'll let you guys whip me for a while more." To be able to whip me, Lai Yunxiao, you guys did not come to this world in vain. He clenched his teeth and closed his eyes. He started to absorb the weak Kai and was about to break through the bottleneck. "Stop!" At the crucial moment, Long Hao suddenly shouted. The few burly men did not dare to disobey. The whipping stopped immediately. Lai Yunxiao frowned slightly as a sense of disappointment rose in his heart. If he whipped a few more times, he had the confidence to break through the bottleneck and advance to a 3-star martial artist. At that time, he would have a higher chance of escaping, Long Hao said coldly. "I've really underestimated you. You actually did not make a sound. You've performed so well. Next, I'll give you a feast. I'll let you have a good time." Ha ha. Following his laughter, Zhun Liang's face revealed a sinister smile. He clapped his hands. Immediately, a burly man presented a bag of medicine. Lai Yunxiao slowly opened his eyes and looked coldly. At this moment, he could break free from his restraints and kill at any time. However, his physical body was too heavily damaged, and there was still a martial master present. He wasn't confident that he could directly control the situation, so he waited quietly for an opportunity to see what they were up to. Zhun Liang's expression was indescribably ferocious. He patted the medicine in his hand and laughed coldly. "This bag of medicinal powder is the eunuch goes crazy that I've meticulously concocted." Even if a eunuch were to eat it, he would be able to restore his yang energy and make him drunk to the point of wanting to die. He pointed at the two burly men holding long whips and said coldly, "You two, come here." The two burly men didn't know what was going on. They looked at each other and walked over. Zhun Liang gently opened the bottle and flicked his index finger. Immediately, a red powder flew out. The two burly men directly inhaled it, choking and coughing. A few seconds later, the eyes of the two burly men began to blur, and their strong bronze skin gradually turned pink. The two of them began to talk in their sleep, and their hands constantly touched their bodies. A strange atmosphere spread in the interrogation room. The two burly men quickly hugged each other and began to lick each other in their sleep. Their actions became more and more unsightly. Blurg, blurg, everyone was so disgusted that they bent over and vomited. Even Long Hao felt nauseous. He quickly waved his hand and said, "Stop experimenting, hurry up and let him eat it." Zhun Liang smirked and licked his lips. He walked step by step towards Lai Yunxiao. "Just now they only took a small amount. This big bag is all yours." Blurg, Lai Yunxiao couldn't take it anymore. The two burly men's actions were getting bigger and bigger. He even vomited his bile directly. His eyes were bursting with a strong, murderous intent. Wave of goosebumps spread all over his body, and his body trembled violently. Suddenly, a clear wave of energy surged out from his dantian, rushing into his meridians. All the acupoints in his body opened and closed in an instant. True Kai circulated for a full cycle, and then gathered in his dantian again. The bottleneck that was just a hair's breadth away was finally broken by this disgusting force. "Pervert, die," Lai Yunxiao roared. His body's true Kai instantly erupted from his limbs and bones. The cowhide tendons that bound his limbs broke one by one. His figure flashed and he withdrew his palms. An extremely strong force of Kai rushed out and shot into the medicinal powder in Zhun Liang's hands. Peng! The force of Kai exploded, and the medicinal powder instantly filled the sky. A wave of decadent crimson blew towards Long Hao and the others. Everyone was hit one by one, and all of them were stained with some powder. "Ah!" Long Hao turned pale with fright. He hurriedly pulled Zhun Liang back. "Antidote! Quickly take out the antidote!" Zhun Liang also sprayed a face full of medicinal powder. His eyes began to show signs of hallucination. He began to speak in a dreamy voice. Antidote. There is no antidote. Brother Hao, come on, let's go crazy for a while and it will be fine." "Crazy your sister?" Long Hao's eyes were spitting fire. He jumped up and kicked Zhun Liang's chest with all his strength. Zhun Liang spat out a mouthful of blood. His whole body was flung away, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. "Uncle Ma, what do we do?" Long Hao's heart turned cold. The 30 or so people in front of him began to have their eyes glazed over. He angrily shouted, "It's all him, it's all him. Uncle Ma, quickly kill him." The hunchbacked old man, Long Ma, was also shocked. Although he used his Kai to block the powder in time, some of it still stuck to his body. A strange feeling seeped into his skin. He hurriedly used his Kai to suppress the powder and roared, "Brat, you're asking for death." Long Ma was about to explode, but suddenly a figure flashed in front of him. Lai Yunxiao had already made his move, and both his fists punched out. "HMPH, a mere martial artist dares to show off in front of me." He angrily swung his fists, and the withered muscles on his arms suddenly swelled up. His arms were as thick as tree roots, and he was about to attack. Suddenly, a cold snort sounded. "Universe Soul Suppressor Demonic Moon." Lai Yunxiao's eyes suddenly became strange. His black pupils instantly twisted and spun, turning into a blood-red crescent moon. It was as if there was an endless and terrifying space within them. Long Ma was momentarily dazed, but his body trembled and he immediately woke up. Suddenly, a huge pain came from his arms. Lai Yunxiao's fists had already turned into claws, and his 10 fingers fiercely pierced into the muscles of his shoulders. With a slash, both his arms felt as if they had been cut open by a sharp knife, and his bones and flesh were separated. Lai Yunxiao's eyes instantly returned to normal, but the cold killing intent did not diminish. Only his face was slightly pale. It was obvious that the soul attack just now had directly consumed his spirit. His claws were badly mutilated, and he clenched his 5 fingers into a fist. The sound of tigers roared out, and taking advantage of Long Ma's pain, he fiercely punched him in the chest. Bang! Long Ma spat out a mouthful of blood and fiercely fell backwards, landing on the ground. The ground was covered with the eunuch goes crazy powder. The moment he landed on the ground, more than 10 men who were already in a daze, crazily biting and clawing each other, pounced on him as if they had seen meat. Very quickly, Long Ma was submerged in the mountain of flesh. Lai Yunxiao's stomach churned again. He resisted the nausea and looked around. He saw that Long Hao had also lost control of his mind for a short period of time and had joined in the frenzied carnal desire. Ugh! He could not bear it anymore and vomited out a mouthful of bile. His whole body soared into the air, carefully avoiding the decadent powder, and jumped to the stairs. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief and walked up. Behind him, there were countless beast-like roars, and there were also soul-stirring screams. He wiped his face and threw away the blood-stained clothes on his body. He took out a new set of clothes from his ring, and his whole body was much more spirited. However, because of the soul attack just now and the excessive vomiting, his face was slightly pale. Pa! He slapped the big lock on the door, and the 2 iron doors of the dungeon opened with a rumble, and the sunlight shone in. Huh! He was instantly stunned. Outside the door, more than 10 pairs of equally stunned eyes stared at him. Teacher Luo, Chen Zhangzi, Fat Pig Han, why are you guys here? Lai Yunxiao said in shock. Chen Zhen was the first to react and said in shock, are you okay? Lai Yunxiao spread out his hands and said calmly, I'm fine. What could happen to me? This. Chen Zhen looked him up and down in disbelief and then looked into the dungeon. How could he be fine? What's that sound inside? He walked in curiously. Long King instantly heaved a sigh of relief and his heart felt indescribably relaxed. Lai Yunxiao was actually fine, although he was also very surprised this was the best result for him. Wah, ugh, tilde. Chen Zhen's whole face was pale and he quickly ran out, squatted down and violently vomited. Chen Zhen, what's going on? Hanbai also knocked on the inside of the dungeon in surprise. Zhang Qingfen and the others were also a little surprised. They had already prepared for the worst, but they didn't expect Lai Yunxiao to be taking a leisurely stroll in the park. He didn't look uncomfortable at all. Zhang Qingfen looked him up and suddenly felt that he had an extraordinary temperament. He said in surprise, You're Lai Yunxiao. What's that sound inside? He also imitated Chen Zhen and wanted to go in to take a look. Oh, it's nothing. Young Master Long Hao invited a group of people to play inside. Lai Yunxiao shook his head indifferently, but his eyes showed extreme disgust, and his face turned pale again. It's better not to go in and disturb them. Oh! His appearance immediately aroused everyone's suspicion. They all followed him in disbelief, wanting to see what was going on. Wah, ugh, tilde, more than a dozen people rushed out in a frenzy. All of them squatted on both sides and vomited. Even Luo Yunshang, who had forcefully suppressed the contents in her stomach, couldn't hold it in any longer and vomited again and again. Zhang Qingfen and the other arcane masters even took out various pills and swallowed them like beans. However, they quickly vomited again. Long King also ran out and vomited a few times, but his eyes were filled with anxiety. He forcefully pressed down on his chest, took a deep breath, and ran in again. But a few seconds later, the sound of vomiting could be heard. He ran out again and vomited violently. Chapter 33. Aya, I told you not to go in, Lai Yunxiao said with a reproachful expression. You didn't listen to my advice, serves you right. Young Master Long Hao's taste is not something an ordinary person can accept. Chen Zhen trembled as he stood up. His face was pale. Young Master Yun, it's already too late to pick up the soap. After vomiting, Long King trembled with anger. Smoke rose from his body as he roared. Lai Yunxiao, what the hell is going on? At first glance, he saw his beloved son inside. This shocking scene caused him to completely break down. Regardless of the final outcome, if Zhang Qingfen and the others saw this kind of scandal, How would the Long family have the face to stand in the capital in the future? He was about to go berserk. If not for the fact that there were so many people here, he would definitely tear Lai Yunxiao into pieces and feed him to the dogs. Lai Yunxiao snorted coldly. His gaze gradually turned cold. A chill emanated from his body. Master Long, your son invited me as a guest without saying a word. I was the one who wanted to ask you what's going on. Long King was shocked. A strange look flashed through his eyes. Lai Yunxiao was a weak young man. His strength seemed to be that of a 3-star warrior, but he gave off an unfathomable feeling. It was as if he might not be a match for him even if he attacked. How could this be? Long King comforted himself in his heart. It must be because I was too disgusted just now, so my senses were off. His face turned cold and he said solemnly, I don't know what happened between you and my son, but you're standing here safe and sound right now, and my son. As he spoke, his eyes were about to spit fire. From today onwards, he would no longer be able to live in the capital. The aura from Lai Yunxiao's body quickly attracted Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han's attention. Both of them were third-grade master alchemists. Their divine senses were abnormally sensitive. They immediately noticed that Lai Yunxiao was different from the others. Both of them revealed astonished expressions. Zhang Qingfen swallowed a few pills and finally stabilized his nausea. He said with a pale face, Your son has a special taste. What does it have to do with him? Are we supposed to listen to him in the Long family's residence? Long King was also startled. That's right. Lai Yunxiao was captured. How could he have the ability to put Hao and the others down? Could it be that this was really Hao hobby? He was dumbfounded. Jia Rong smiled coldly and said, HMPH, like son, like father, I'm afraid like son, like father. Like father, like father, like son, like son, like father, like son, like son, like son, like father, like son, 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 like son. Whoosh. Tilde everyone reacted as if they had been electrocuted like son, like son, like son, like son, like son, like son. And son like 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 son like. Father like son like son like son like son. Long like son like him like son like son like son like. Son like son like son like. Long the son like 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 son like. I am the commander of the Imperial Guards, a 3 talents realm martial grandmaster. How can I be weak? Zhang Qingfen said coldly, which one of them is not a martial artist? He ignored Long King and turned to look at Lai Yunxiao. His eyes softened. You are Lai Yunxiao, Lai Yunxiao nodded. You are Zhang Qingfen. Zhang Qingfen was surprised. You know me, Lai Yunxiao smiled. The one on the left is the president of the Alchemist Guild, Zhu Han. The one on the right is the commander of the Divine Guards, Teacher Luo. The one in the middle is either Zhang Qingfen or Xiao Qingwang. It's easy to guess. A knowing smile appeared on Zhang Qingfen's face as he nodded and praised. You're indeed different from the rumors. You can perform acupuncture with golden needles. Lai Yunxiao smiled. I'll give it a try. Give it a try. Zhang Qingfen's expression turned serious and he said in a serious tone. Your Highness is priceless. If I didn't have enough confidence, I wouldn't have allowed you to try the needle. Lai Yunxiao spread his hands and put on a helpless expression. He smiled and said, If you don't let me try, do you have any other ideas? Zhang Qingfen was taken aback. He pondered for a few seconds and burst out laughing. All right, go ahead. Suddenly, his expression sank and he said coldly, If I can save the princess, I can guarantee your safety in the Clearwater country no matter what happens in the future. If you can't, even Lai Chunyang won't be able to save your life. His words seemed to imply something. Lai Yunxiao's expression changed slightly as he sneered. My life is always in my own hands. Jia Rong saw that the atmosphere was a little cold and hurriedly said, Don't waste time here, Her Royal Highness is still waiting for the acupuncture. Lai Yunxiao looked at Meng Wu and smiled. You framed me last time. This time you found someone to save me. We are even now. Meng Wu blushed. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. Lai Yunxiao smiled and said, I just happen to need a helper. Come and help me save the princess. Meng Wu waved her hands. Me? No, I don't know anything. Lai Yunxiao smiled. You can do it, but you can't either. He turned to Zhang Qingfen. Master Zhang, I need 2 helpers. One is Meng Wu and the other is Teacher Luo. As for the payment for their help, I want you to reimburse me. Zhang Qingfen was taken aback. He nodded. As you wish. Everyone will listen to you. Luo Yunshang was overjoyed. She looked at Lai Yunxiao gratefully. Golden needles were a legendary acupuncture technique. Only a small number of high-ranked arcane raffiners on the continent could secretly master it. No arcane alchemist would miss the chance to see the acupressure technique. Young Master Yun, didn't you want me to be your helper? Jia Rong asked hurriedly. Lai Yunxiao's face darkened. Liang Jun is your disciple? Jia Rong's heart sank. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He used to be my disciple, but I've already kicked him out of my tutelage. I actually stopped caring about him a long time ago. Ah, it's true. Don't go, young Master Yun. Young Master Yun, listen to me. I don't even know him. Don't go on the 4th floor of the Arcane Raffiner Guild inside an ice chamber. Qin Ruxu was wearing a white dress. She was lying on a light green jade bed. Her face was purple, and there were 5 faint red veins on her face. Her vitality was weak. Zhang Qingfen glanced at it, and his expression became even more unsightly. He said in a deep voice, This purple-green jade bed can slightly suppress the princess's illness, but it is obviously at its limit. Lai Yunxiao sighed. His soul power was too low. Otherwise, he would have discovered the princess's 5 yin meridians a long time ago. He waved his hand. All of you can leave. Just leave Mengwu and Luo Yunshang here. Luo Yunshang couldn't help but ask, A gauze tent and 30 golden needles are enough. You really don't need anything else. She asked nervously, Lai Yunxiao, are you really confident? Lai Yunxiao rubbed his chin. Zhang Qingfen was extremely nervous from Lai Yunxiao's expression. He said seriously, Lai Yunxiao, tell me honestly, how confident are you? If you're not confident, I'll go inform His Majesty. His words were clear. If Lai Yunxiao didn't succeed, it would be time for him to bid farewell to the princess. Everyone's heart sank. They weren't optimistic about the situation. After all, Lai Yunxiao was too young. Not only did the golden needles require great control, but the order, timing, and strength couldn't be wrong. According to their estimations, they would be lucky if they had a 30% chance of success. Lai Yunxiao sighed and said, If the princess was a man, I would have 100% confidence in performing acupuncture on him face to face. However, she's a woman, and I can only perform acupuncture on her acupoints from a distance of 15 meters through the gauze curtain. On top of that, I was struck by young Master Hao's interest in the Long family just now, and I'm still a little dispirited. All in all, I'm about 90% confident. Flying needles? You're telling me that you're going to do it from a distance of 15 meters through the gauze tent. Zhang Qingfen felt a lump in his throat. So you're preparing the gauze tent to avoid any misunderstandings between men and women. 100% chance of success face-to-face, and 90% chance of success with flying needles. Zhu Han sucked in a breath of cold air. So it's so easy to do it. I thought it was a profound technique. He shook his head fiercely, saying, No, I once heard Master say that in order to successfully use the golden needle acupuncture technique, it's impossible to succeed without the sole power of a rank 5 alchemist or a well-honed technique. Luo Yunshang was also stunned for a moment before her face sank. She roared. Do you think your Lord Yang Dai, 100% chance of success and flying needles? The princess's life is in danger. Be serious? Lai Yunxiao smiled bitterly. I'm already very serious. Since I know Ruxu's life is in danger, don't disturb me. Let's begin. Mengwu, just support the princess. Teacher Luo, help me separate the gauze tent. Zhang Qingfen grabbed the veil and threw it out. He cursed angrily, Veil Maya *S, just do it face to face. The princess's body is priceless. How can it be a child's play? Lai Yunxiao's eyes bulged as he glared at him. It's precisely because I'm a priceless treasure that I have to be separated by a veil. She had to take off her clothes to perform acupuncture with the golden needles. If I saw everything without the veil, I would have to marry her as soon as His Majesty gave the order. Damn, are you trying to harm me? I won't fall for it. Everyone fainted. Jiang Qingfen felt dizzy. It was such a serious matter, but Lai Yongxiao made it seem like a child's game. He felt like the other party was playing with him. Lai Yongxiao's expression changed. He stared at Qin Ruxu and said, "The 5 yin arteries are about to converge into the Spirit Sea. If you delay any longer, the 5 yin arteries will converge into one and your life will be cut off. Even a 9th-rank emperor-level alchemist can't save you." Everyone looked at the princess's face. The 5 thin lines of blood had indeed increased. They started to spread to the top of her head. Chapter 34. Jiang Qingfen's heart tightened and he shouted in a deep voice, "Leave Mengwu and Luo Yunshang here. Everyone else, get out now." He turned around and left. There was no turning back now. Even if he was being tricked, he had to be tricked to the end. Everyone else was speechless, and they followed Jiang Qingfen out of the ice cellar with different feelings. Mengwu, take off all her clothes. Teacher Luo, open the veil. Lai Yongxiao, that's enough. You can't bear the consequences of this. Be serious. Luo Yunshang said angrily. Pa, Lai Yongxiao opened the box of golden needles and flicked his finger without raising his head. He said softly, "Teacher Luo, I'm going to pierce your Yunmen acupoint 7 millimeters deep." Swoosh. Luo Yunshang's pupils shrank as a golden ray of light flashed across her shoulder blade like a mosquito's bite. A golden needle as thin as a strand of hair had pierced into her Yunmen acupoint without the slightest error. Luo Yunshang was instantly dumbfounded. Her eyes were filled with horror, and a monstrous wave was set off in her heart. Her underwear was sewn with golden thread, and it had a certain resistance to Yuan Lai. She couldn't control the strength needed to pierce the golden needle, let alone 7 millimeters deep. And how did he know she was wearing the golden thread dress? Lai Yongxiao chuckled and said, "When I was outside just now, I noticed that Teacher Luo's neck was shining with a golden light. She must be wearing a golden silk dress. Nowadays, it's popular for girls to wear this. Plus, there are 3 pieces of clothes and we are 6 meters apart. So I used 30% of my strength for this needle. I wonder how much it missed." Luo Yunshang's face was red. She couldn't stay calm when a man knew she was wearing underwear. Although she was shocked, she still said angrily, "Lai Yongxiao, you can't keep your mouth shut." Lai Yongxiao laughed and said, "Let's get started. In fact, I have the confidence to fly the needles in the air. If Ruxu, this little girl, were to strip naked in front of me, how could I calm down? Don't be fooled by her young age. She has already developed." "Enough." A trace of shyness flashed in Luo Yunshang's eyes. She unfurled the veil in her hands and immediately separated Lai Yongxiao and Qin Ruxu. She slightly calmed down her state of mind and softly said, "Let's begin." Meng Wu also nervously untied Qin Ruxu's clothes and carefully helped her up. Whoosh! With a flash of golden light, Lai Yongxiao's flying needles began to pierce through the veil one by one. Luo Yunshang's pupils shrunk. She raised her concentration to the peak and imprinted every single movement of Lai Yongxiao into her mind. Outside the ice cellar, a group of people were abnormally quiet. No one dared to breathe loudly because Jiang Qingfen's complexion was extremely bad. No one dared to provoke him. Zhu Han finally couldn't bear it and said, "Old Jiang, do you think Lai Yongxiao is making trouble?" Jiang Qingfen's pupils shrunk and said in a deep voice, "At this point, even if it is shit, we have to eat it." His gloomy eyes were almost murderous as he coldly looked at Jia Rong. Jia Rong was so scared that his whole body was trembling. His sweat dripped on the ground. Pa, the ice cellar's door suddenly opened. Everyone's heart was beating fast. They turned their heads and saw Lai Yongxiao leisurely walking out. "What's going on? Hasn't started yet." Jiang Qingfen said in a deep voice, "Her Royal Highness can't delay anymore." "It's done," Lai Yongxiao said lightly. "Done. Done." Everyone was stunned. So fast? Only a few minutes. Is he messing with us? Everyone felt like they were fooled. Jia Rong's vision blurred and he almost fainted. It was as if he could already see himself being torn apart by an enraged Jiang Qingfen. "Lai Yongxiao, how dare you?" Jiang Qingfen finally lost his temper. His anger soared to the sky. His beard and hair stood on end as he charged forward. "How dare you use Her Royal Highness's life to fool us? Even if Lai Chunyang is here today, I'll skin you alive." Pa, a beautiful figure flashed by. Luo Yunsheng appeared in front of Lai Yungxiao and gently blocked Zhang Qingfen's fist. She said softly, "Master Zhang, she has really recovered. Her Royal Highness is fine now." Silence. Absolute silence at the door. Zhang Qingfen felt like his brain had short-circuited. He said in shock, "Really, really recovered? Yun Shang, when did you become a joker?" Zhu Han's figure flashed into the ice cellar. Soon a shocked voice came. She has really recovered? Ah, tilde. Everyone outside the door drew a cold breath and looked at each other in shock. The illness that had troubled them for more than a decade was cured by this youth in just a few minutes. Jia Rong instantly felt like collapsing. His entire body went limp and he collapsed on the ground like a pile of mud. However, he felt extremely comfortable inside. His life was finally saved. Zhang Qingfen looked at Lai Yungxiao's cold gaze and became a little embarrassed. Sweat seeped out of his forehead as he mumbled. How can it be so fast? You must be kidding me." Heh. He forced a few laughs, but it looked very awkward no matter how he looked at it. "Hey, your sister," Lai Yungxiao scolded. "There are only 18 needles in total. It will only take a few seconds for me to cut you 18 times. How long do you think it will take? 3 days and 3 nights. To think that you are the chief arcane master of the royal palace. What an idiot." Ah, tilde. Everyone drew a cold breath. Han Bai and Chen Zhen also opened their mouths so wide that a watermelon could be stuffed inside. The door became eerily silent again, daring to scold the chief arcane master of the royal palace as an idiot. Oh my God. Even His Majesty the King would not dare to do such a thing. Is this brat crazy? Everyone was drenched in cold sweat. Jia Rong's heart, which had just calmed down, instantly jumped to his throat again. He desperately struggled a few times and wished he could immediately climb up and cut all ties with Lai Yungxiao. He crazily shouted in his mind, "Oh my God, I don't know this brat. Please don't implicate me." Zhang Qingfen himself was also stunned. How many years had it been since he was called an idiot by someone? He remembered that he was still an intermediate arcane apprentice back then. Every time he purified materials for his master, he would often be knocked on the head and called an idiot. It had been many years since he heard that name. He also felt it was strange. He should have been furious, but why was he not angry at all? Instead, he felt a little sad. "You called me an idiot? Is that not the case?" Yes, Luo Yunsheng was also drenched in cold sweat. She shouted, "Lai Yungxiao, stop your nonsense. Hurry up and apologize to Master Zhang. Apologize." Lai Yungxiao smirked coldly and walked out on his own. He did not care about the fainted crowd at all. "Come and find me when he has his own flying needles. I can consider apologizing then." Everyone looked at each other. He really dared to say something like that. Luo Yunsheng also felt faint. She hurriedly said, "Master Zhang, I'm sorry." Zhang Qingfen shook his head dejectedly and sighed. He's right. Those who are strong always come first. Everyone was silent. In this world, strength spoke louder. Zhang Qingfen's words were clearly an attitude of admitting defeat. After the silence, everyone was even more shocked. "Since the princess is fine, you can all leave. I plan to stay here for a few days and observe the princess condition." Zhang Qingfen waved his hand and walked towards the ice cellar. His expression was a little bleak. Everyone silently left. Han Bai and Chen Zhen also wanted to go back, but they were grabbed by Luo Yunsheng. The 3 of them left the Alchemist Guild together. "The 2 of you are the closest to Lai Yungxiao. Why did he change so much recently? His cultivation level skyrocketed, and his medical skills are not achievements that can be obtained in a short period of time." Luo Yunsheng went straight to the point. Han Bai was also a little silent. Lai Yungxiao, who had always been a burden and needed their care, had inexplicably left them several streets behind and reached an existence that they had to look up to. Luo Yunsheng coldly looked at the 2. "Don't tell me you don't know either." Even if he intentionally hid it and kept a low profile, there's no way he could hide it from the 2 of you. You should have at least seen some clues. The 2 of them looked at each other with a blank look on their faces. Chen Zhen laughed. "Teacher Luo is his class teacher. To be able to teach a student that even Master Zhang is ashamed of. Teacher Luo is really good at teaching. A sage, a teacher. Slap. Luo Yunshang directly slapped the back of his head, forcing him to swallow his words. Luo Yunshang's eyes revealed a look of contemplation. Suddenly, a glimmer of light flashed in her eyes. She solemnly said, "You think that Lai Yunxiao kept such a low profile has something to do with the current situation of the Lai family?" Han Bai and Chen Zhen's expressions changed and became solemn. Luo Yunshang's eyes flickered slightly. She pondered and said, "Just when everyone thought he was trash, an insignificant nobody, he suddenly stood out with radiance. A scheming person who has endured for so long dares to stand in front of the stage at this time. Perhaps he is already prepared for anything. Tianshui Nation's Lai family, perhaps something big is about to happen." Han Bai solemnly said, "Duke Jing is in life and death seclusion, handing over all the Lai family's affairs to Lai Yi. Now the Lai family is completely under this kid's control. Even General Fei Long, who is guarding the far northwest border, can't do anything to him. Could it be that the rumors are true?" Chen Zhen's expression was also extremely ugly. "Rumor has it that Duke Jing is not in life and death seclusion, but has been imprisoned by Lai Yi. Otherwise, how could a mere adopted son who was only given the Lai family's surname be given to him? How could he be given such great authority? Although young Master Yun's performance is shocking, the Lai family still has some elders supporting them. It is not yet time for him to stand out." Luo Yunshang said indifferently, "Perhaps something has happened that we are not aware of. Moreover, Lai Yunxiao must have obtained some kind of support that allows him to stand out. The golden needle acupuncture technique and the floating dream seal were the best proof. If the Lai family is in turmoil, then it will definitely affect the foundation of the country. You must also be mentally prepared." Han Bai's eyes flashed with determination. He coldly said, "I have long since disliked that Lai Yi. As long as young Master Yun stands out, we will always stand by his side and support him." Chapter 35. Chen Zhen added, "Many of Duke Jing and General Flying Dragon's subordinates don't like Lai Yi. As long as young Master Yun raises the flag, they will definitely support young Master Yun." He suddenly asked, "Teacher Luo, if young Master Yun and Lai Yi get into a conflict, which side will you stand on?" Han Bai was also listening attentively. Luo Yunshang's status was extraordinary. If she was willing to help Lai Yunxiao, then their chances of winning would be even greater. Luo Yunshang said indifferently, "I am the commander of the Guardian Divine Guards. I work for His Majesty." Han Bai and Luo Yunshang immediately looked disappointed. However, Luo Yunshang smiled and said, "But Lai Yunxiao is my student." Lai Yunxiao was walking on the road when he suddenly yawned a few times. He said strangely, "I'm so healthy and I don't even have a cold. Why would I yawn?" Young Master Yun," a voice suddenly sounded. Meng Wu had caught up from behind. When she saw Lai Yunxiao, her face immediately turned red and her eyes became a little nervous. Lai Yunxiao squinted his eyes and smiled. "I was wondering why you would yawn, so it's because you're about to get lucky with women." Meng Wu gritted her teeth and gathered her courage. Can you help me take a look at my brother?" Lai Yunxiao knew that she was trying to raise money to buy medicine for her brother. He immediately took out a bag of gold coins from his ring and tossed it over. 1,000 gold coins? Meng Wu looked at the storage bag in shock. She hurriedly handed it back to Lai Yunxiao. "I can't accept this much money." Lai Yunxiao took her left hand and placed it on it. He smiled. "This is your reward for saving the princess." Meng Wu shook her head, "But I didn't do anything. I only helped the princess change her clothes." Lai Yunxiao smiled. "You helped her change her clothes. This is a matter of life and death. If you didn't come and ask me to change her clothes, do you think I would still be able to perform acupuncture on a naked beauty in front of me? Then the princess would definitely be in danger. Therefore, in the entire process, what you did was the most crucial part." Meng Wu was stunned when she heard this. There was actually such a logic. She knew that Lai Yunxiao was trying to help her. She felt a surge of warmth in her heart, and she had the urge to cry. He took the storage bag tightly with his right hand, lowered his head and said, "Thank you. Last time when Lan Fei and I tried to frame you, you were still willing to help me. I'm sorry. Lai Yunxiao smiled and said, "It's fine. Besides, I didn't lose out last time. If I have the chance, I want to do it a few more times." When Meng Wu heard this, she knew what he was referring to. She immediately blushed like a ripe apple that was about to emit smoke. Lai Yunxiao laughed and said, "What illness does your brother have? Why don't I come with you to take a look?" Meng Wu was immediately overjoyed. Although she did not know Lai Yunxiao's strength, he was definitely not ordinary to be able to cure a disease that even the chief arcane artificer of the royal court could not do anything about. She hurriedly brought Lai Yunxiao home. She lived in a private house near the capital. It was a full 4 hours' walk from the academy. Both of them were strong, but it still took them half a day to arrive. Lai Yunxiao teased, "No wonder you have already opened 7 chakras at such a young age. You are only a step away from becoming a first-origin realm martial artist. It turns out that every time you go home to school, it is equivalent to going into seclusion." Meng Wu blushed slightly. "The houses in the capital are too expensive. How can we afford them?" Along the way, Lai Yunxiao also learned that Meng Wu's father was once a brave lieutenant in the kingdom. He could more or less be considered to have some sort of position. Originally, he had brought the siblings to live in the city. However, 3 years ago, he had unfortunately died in the line of duty during a mission, cutting off their source of income. They could only rely on the meager monthly pension to survive. That was why they moved out of the capital and lived in the suburbs. Fortunately, the siblings were both sensible and talented. Meng Wu had also been admitted to Jialan Academy at the age of 15 last year. Her younger brother, Meng Bai, had also opened 5 chakras at the age of 14. His talent was even higher than Meng Wu's. Everything had been going well, but this year, Meng Bai had suddenly become muddle-headed all day. He had been in a coma for a long time, and his body was sometimes hot and cold for some unknown reason. In order to raise money for her younger brother's treatment, Meng Wu had been working part-time to earn money. It was also because of this that she had agreed to Lan Fei's scheme to frame Lai Yunxiao. It was an ordinary house with simple furniture, but it was very clean and tidy. The moment Meng Wu entered and saw her younger brother lying on the bed, tears immediately flowed down her face. She sobbed, "It has already been 4 to 5 months, and he has been like this. I have found many alchemy apprentices, but they are all useless. I can only rely on the rejuvenation water to keep him alive. However, the effects of the rejuvenation water are getting weaker and weaker. I am really scared every day. Sob, sob, sob." Tilda, her spirit seemed to collapse in an instant. She threw herself onto Lai Yunxiao's shoulder and wailed loudly. The pressure that a 15-year-old girl had endured for a long time poured out like a broken dam. Lai Yunxiao smelled the faint virgin fragrance and patted Meng Wu's hair lightly. He comforted, "It's okay. I am here now. As long as Meng Bai is not dead, he can't die even if he wants to." After crying for a while, Meng Wu realized that she had lost her composure. She pressed her hand against her nose and sobbed softly. A large patch of tears was already wet on Lai Yunxiao's shoulder. "This is..." Lai Yunxiao looked at the young man on the bed in surprise. The young man's face was colorful, and his vitality was weak. He used his hand to lightly press on a few acupoints on the young man's body. The places where his fingertips touched turned dark and emitted a faint black aura. It was as if the young man had been poisoned. "Young Master Yun, what is going on?" Meng Wu was anxious and worried. She had never encountered such a situation before. Lai Yunxiao was stunned for a moment before spitting out a few words. "Heaven and earth poison body, worldly poison body." Meng Wu felt a wave of dizziness. Although she didn't know what kind of illness it was, the name alone was terrifying enough. She cried, "Young Master Yun, can it be cured?" "Cured?" Lai Yunxiao was stunned. He shook his head. Meng Wu burst into tears. "Didn't you say that as long as you're not dead, you can't die even if you want to? I beg you, you must save my little brother. As long as you can save him, I am willing to do anything. I am willing to do anything." Cold sweat appeared on Lai Yunxiao's forehead. "Don't tempt me into committing a crime. If you say that, I will get the wrong idea." He glared at Meng Wu and said, "Don't cry. The worldly poison body isn't an illness. How can it be cured? It's like if you were a woman and I made you a man. Would you be willing?" Meng Wu sobbed. "If it's not an illness, then why is it like this?" Lai Yunxiao said carefully, "Let me explain it to you this way. There are many people in this world who are different from others from birth. For example, men and women are different. The level of their talent is also different. There are some extremely rare existences that are called special constitutions. Those who possess these special constitutions will all have obvious signs that are different from ordinary people. This worldly poison body is one of these special constitutions." Meng Wu said anxiously, "Then what should we do? Since you discovered his illness, then you must have a way to cure him, right?" Lai Yunxiao slapped his forehead. "What a waste of words. I already said that this isn't an illness and doesn't need treatment. Although I have never seen the worldly poison body, I have read some records. Your little brother's strength is too weak, and the poison in his body is too strong. He is unable to control it, which is why he is like this. As long as he restrains the poison in his body and continuously cultivates to increase his strength, everything will be easily solved." Meng Wu was stunned. "Then what about the poison in his body?" Lai Yunxiao shook his head. "There is no need to cure him. He has the worldly poison body, so it would be strange if he didn't have poison. As long as his cultivation speed can keep up with the poison's growth, it will be fine. His poison is still very weak now, but it will become stronger and stronger in the future, and he will become a king of poisons. Let me wake him up first." He took out golden needles and carefully inserted them into Meng Bai's body. As soon as the 10 or so golden needles entered the acupoints, they started to turn black one by one. Lai Yunxiao frowned. "So powerful." He slapped the top of Meng Bai's head, and the 10 or so corroded golden needles instantly flew out. The acupoints emitted traces of black gas, and when they came into contact with the air, they started to burn. "Help me lift him up," Lai Yunxiao ordered. He sat cross-legged in front of Meng Bai. Meng Wu's heart jumped to her throat. She hurriedly helped Meng Bai up and said anxiously, "Even the golden needles don't work. What should we do?" Lai Yunxiao's golden needles could cure the 5 yin meridians that even Zhang, Kingfen, and Master Zhu couldn't do anything about, but he couldn't do anything about her little brother. This made her extremely afraid. "It's fine. I will absorb the poison in his body and it will be fine." Lai Yunxiao said indifferently. He formed a seal with his hands and lightly tapped on Meng Bai's shoulders. Immediately, a wave of black gas started to spread to Lai Yunxiao's body. "You!" Meng Wu's pupils shrank. She cried out in shock. "You, how can this be?" "If the poison enters your body, what will you do?" Lai Yunxiao snorted. "If it was a complete heaven and earth poison body, I might be a little afraid, but your little brother has only opened 5 chakras. How strong can the poison in his body be? I will only absorb it and eat it as a tonic." "A tonic?" Meng Wu's eyes widened. She watched as circles of black gas flowed into Lai Yunxiao's arm. His entire body started to turn black. Meng Bai's complexion finally improved. His vitality started to slowly recover. Her heart was instantly moved, and large drops of tears streamed down her cheeks. Ever since her father died, no one had helped her so painstakingly. Even if someone helped her, it was because they coveted her beauty. In the end, they had to reveal their true colors. Lai Yunxiao's help without caring about his own life filled her tough heart with warmth. She was so touched that her face was filled with tears. Lai Yunxiao's eyes were tightly shut. His entire body was like a huge whirlpool. A faint suction force was emitted from his body. A large amount of black, poisonous gas rushed into his body through the meridians in his arm. It started to corrode his meridians and flesh. Chapter 36. You want to corrode me with this level of poisonous gas? HMPH, I am the only one in the world, Creation Kai. Lai Yunxiao shouted in his heart. Golden light erupted from his dantian and rushed into his 7 major meridian acupoints. Immediately, 7 rays of light formed a line from his head to his toes. The black, poisonous gas around his body began to shrink rapidly, and his skin color gradually returned to normal. Meng Wu stopped crying and stared blankly at the changes in Lai Yunxiao's body. Meng Bai's complexion also became better and better. Only then did she feel extremely happy. The black poisonous gas was compressed into a ball by Lai Yunxiao and absorbed into his aura sea. The energy whirlpool in his dantian was like a nebula. It slowly absorbed the poisonous gas and converted it into the purest energy, filling up his aura sea. It really is innate energy. Tusk, I'm in luck this time. Lai Yunxiao was ecstatic and began to absorb it even more frantically. When a martial artist cultivated, they had to absorb the energy of heaven and earth for their own use, filling up their aura sea and increasing their energy. Apart from absorbing energy directly from heaven and earth, most martial artists would also absorb energy from primal stones to cultivate their aura sea. After all, primal stones were ores that stored a large amount of energy. It was much more effective than directly absorbing energy from heaven and earth. However, as one's level increased, the requirement for primal stones would also increase. Towards the end, even supreme-grade primal stones could only increase one's strength by a very limited amount. Every time a martial artist cultivated, they had to expend a large amount of supreme-grade primal stones. At this time, the role of alchemists became even more prominent. They could refine various high-grade materials into pills that contained a large amount of energy. After a martial artist consumed it, the effects would be great. This was also the reason why high-grade alchemists were so respected. Refining pills required the use of soul power to recombine the energy contained in various materials, turning it into a form that could be easily absorbed by a martial artist. During this process, there was a legendary arcane refiner who unintentionally discovered a method to use soul power to directly absorb elemental energy from materials. After researching it, he finally created a soul skill called the Breath of Creation. The appearance of this soul skill made up for the shortcomings of the alchemist's martial cultivation. It could strengthen the alchemist's martial cultivation in a short period of time. From there, it complemented the alchemist's formula path and allowed him to advance to a higher level. Directly absorbing essence energy from level 9 materials, the cultivation speed was several tens of times faster than using top-grade essence stones. But he quickly discovered the flaw of this soul skill, because it only used high-grade materials as primal stones of a higher grade. Moreover, the energy of the material itself could only be absorbed by an extremely small portion, resulting in a great waste. Materials that could surpass the amount of energy contained in a top-quality primordial stone had to be at least level 5 or above. Adding on the consumption, it would take a level 8 or above material to be wasted to be stronger than directly absorbing the energy from a top-quality primordial stone. As for a level 8, Dan refined from level 8 materials, the energy contained within was over 100 times that of directly absorbing it. In the beginning, there were many wealthy arcane masters who didn't mind wasting materials in pursuit of speed. However, as time went on, they found it harder and harder to continue. In the end, many people knew about this soul skill, but very few people cultivated it, because no one had the financial resources to be so wasteful. The Kai of creation could only absorb innate energy that was formed naturally. Meng Bai had the poison body of heaven and earth, so the poison in his body was also innate energy that was formed naturally. Thus, it was directly absorbed by Lai Yunxiao and digested as a tonic. With his current cultivation, he couldn't completely neutralize the poison. Thus, he used a secret method to condense all the poison, and used his essence energy to envelop it and hide it in his dantian. When his strength increased in the future, he could easily eliminate it. As the poison gradually decreased, Meng Bai's complexion completely recovered. He slowly opened his eyes. "Oh, where am I? Meng Bai, are you all right?" Meng Wu was overjoyed. She cried happily and rubbed Meng Bai's neck. "Boo-hoo, you're finally all right, sister." Meng Bai recognized Meng Wu. At the same time, he also saw Lai Yunxiao. He asked in surprise, "This is?" Meng Wu hurriedly wiped away her tears. "This is my classmate. His name is Lai Yunxiao. You can call him Young Master Yun. He saved your life. You should thank him." Thank you, young Master Yun, for saving me. Meng Bai knew his own situation, but he felt unprecedentedly relaxed and comfortable. The symptoms on his body were completely healed. He hurriedly stood up and expressed his thanks. Lai Yunxiao absorbed all the poison into his dantian. Only then did he slowly open his eyes. Why is there so little poison? It's not even enough for me to eat. To think that you have the heaven and earth poison body, you should nurture more poison in the future. He absorbed all the poison in Meng Bai's body, and he felt his dantian fill up. It was as if he had absorbed over 100 Kai stones. The effect was much stronger than his usual cultivation. Thus, he was reluctant to part with Meng Bai. He smacked his lips and said, "When I get back, I'll refine some pills that can trigger the poison. Take them regularly in the future, and the poison in your body will become stronger and stronger." Meng Bai laughed loudly. "Ha ha, sister, this young Master Yun really knows how to joke." Lai Yunxiao's expression darkened. He said coldly, "I never joke." "Brat, it's your good fortune to have met me. How about this? Kowtow to me 3 times, and I'll take you in as my disciple." Meng Bai was stunned at first, but when he saw Lai Yunxiao's arrogant manner, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Ha ha, take me in as your disciple. Young Master Yun, how old are you? You look about the same age as my sister. You're only 1 year older than me, and you want to take me in as your disciple. If I want to take someone as my master, I should at least take someone who can become a guardian divine guard as my master." The Guardian Divine Guard was the strongest military organization in the kingdom. In a world that revered martial arts, it was the most sacred and legendary place in the hearts of all young people. Lai Yunxiao was both angry and sad. He couldn't even compare to a martial master. One had to know that in his previous life, martial masters weren't even worthy of licking the soles of his shoes. He could kill tens of thousands of martial masters with a wave of his hand. But now, Meng Wu saw a trace of displeasure flash across Lai Yunxiao's face, and she hurriedly knocked Meng Bai's head down. She said softly, "Young Master Yun may be young, but he's an incredible genius in both martial and spell Dao. It's your fortune to have him as your master. Hurry up and kowtow to him as your master." She knew how powerful Lai Yunxiao was. He was more than enough to be Meng Bai's master. Moreover, the poison in Meng Bai's body hadn't been completely removed yet. She still had to count on Lai Yunxiao to save her in the future. Meng Bai hurriedly said, "Sister, I'm your little brother. You can't harm me." Meng Wu saw that Lai Yunxiao's expression was becoming more and more unsightly, and she immediately became anxious. She fiercely knocked Meng Bai's head. "You're saying that I'm harming you? Didn't I work so hard for you? You're infuriating me to death." Tears streamed down her face in her anxiety. Meng Bai immediately panicked when he saw her crying. He hurriedly said, "Sister, don't cry. It's my fault. I'll take you as my master right now." He hurriedly got off the bed and knelt down in front of Lai Yunxiao. He earnestly kowtowed 3 times and said, "Master, please accept disciple Meng Bai's kowtow." Lai Yunxiao nodded and said, "I know you're not convinced now, but it's fine. Master is also very poor now, so I don't have any greeting gifts for you. I'll teach you a supreme body tempering art called the tyrannical heaven tempering art. It'll be compatible with your heaven and earth poison body, and your future accomplishments will be limitless." Meng Bai felt extremely strange when he saw him acting like an elder. However, he still said honestly, "Thank you, Master, but martial artists all cultivate martial techniques. You should teach me a more powerful martial technique. I want to learn the tiger subduing fist. Do you know how to do it?" Lai Yunxiao almost vomited a mouthful of blood. He felt dizzy. The supreme body-tempering art of the tyrannical Emperor Wu Ao Changkong, who was ranked first on the heaven and earth reputation list, was not even comparable to the tiger subduing fist in this kid's eyes. Just learn whatever master wants you to learn. Who are you to be picky? Meng Wu kicked him fiercely. She had seen Lai Yunxiao execute the floating life seal and was extremely envious. She thought that if her brother wanted to learn, he should learn the floating life seal. She agreed to the tyrannical heaven tempering art for now. If she made young Master Yun happy, he might just teach her the floating life seal. Lai Yunxiao suppressed the blood in his chest and said coldly, I don't know the tiger subduing fist. You have to learn this tyrannical heaven-tempering art whether you want to or not. This body-tempering art has a total of 18 forms. I'll teach you the first 3 forms first. After you master it, it'll be more than enough to suppress the poison in your body. Meng Bai was instantly overjoyed when he heard that he could suppress the poison in his body. He hurriedly learned it carefully. Lai Yunxiao didn't avoid arousing suspicion. He let Meng Wu watch from the side. The 2 siblings felt that this pose was too perverted and hilarious. However, with Lai Yunxiao here, they didn't dare to laugh out loud. They could only memorize it carefully. All right, although there are only 3 forms, you have to practice diligently day and night. Don't embarrass me. As for martial techniques, when you break through to the first origin realm, I'll choose one that suits your constitution and teach it to you. Really? Meng Bai's eyes lit up when he heard the word martial techniques. Master, what martial techniques do you know? The ones you teach me can't be worse than the tiger subduing fist. Meng Wu also had a look of anticipation. She knew that Lai Yunxiao knew many martial techniques. Lai Yunxiao's face turned green. He was knowledgeable, but he really couldn't think of a martial technique worse than the tiger subduing fist in this world. The tiger subduing fist was an introductory martial technique. Basically, everyone knew it. Moreover, it was the lowest of the introductory martial techniques, however. Meng Bai had never been taught it before. She had only heard of the name of the tiger subduing fist. Every time she saw someone use it, she would be extremely envious. Although Meng Wu had entered Jialan Academy, she hadn't become a true warrior yet. The school wouldn't teach martial techniques either. Lai Yunxiao sighed. Don't worry, I know what to teach. What you should do now is to continuously strengthen your body and increase the poison you're born with. This is the path you should take. He glanced at the stones piled up in the corner of the room and asked in surprise, These are primordial stone raw ores. Yes, Meng Bai replied. I used to follow Uncle Shi and the others to mine, but I couldn't go after the poison in my body flared up. These were piled up a long time ago. The quality isn't very good, so I couldn't sell them for a good price. Chapter 37. Lai Yunxiao walked to a corner and began to look through it. He could faintly feel a strange message. Soon, he picked up a slightly dark stone from the pile of rubble and examined it carefully. Meng Bai said with surprise, This doesn't seem to be a source stone ore. I feel that there is energy inside, so I picked it up. Lai Yunxiao used a bit of strength and quickly peeled off the surface of the stone. Inside was a purple stone with many impurities. His eyes flashed with joy. Where did you pick this stone up? Is there more in the mine? Meng Bai said, It's in the 5 Peaks mine outside the city. The main mine is controlled by the authorities. We only dug in some of the smaller mines nearby. There should be more of this stone. Lai Yunxiao thought for a moment. This stone is very useful. It is called a violet sunstone and is a 5th-level material. It can be used to condense a gravity array. If I'm not wrong, Jialan Academy's gravity hall is constructed from a large amount of this violet sunstone. Meng Bai was startled. Construct a gravity array, isn't that very valuable? Lai Yunxiao nodded. Yes. It is rare for a kingdom's academy to have a gravity room. Although violet sunstone is a 5th-level material, because of its special properties, it is rarely sold on the market. Normally, only the peak powers of the continent have the ability to construct a gravity training room. The price of violet sunstone depends on the quantity. For example, this one has too many impurities, but it is large enough. The violet sunstone that is refined can produce a gravity field of 3 meters. Meng Bai's eyes shined. But as he saw Lai Yunxiao directly place the violet sunstone into his ring, he immediately put on a sad face and said, Master, how could you take the things of your disciple? Lai Yunxiao shamelessly said, It is a waste to leave this with you. Master will keep it for you for now. When you need it in the future, Master will give it to you. Ignoring Meng Bai's cries of poverty, he took it and left. He didn't forget to remind him, remember to practice those 3 moves day and night. Try to bring out the poison in your body as much as possible. When the time comes, Master will come and take the poison for you." He didn't forget the benefits of absorbing the poison and greatly increasing his vitality. After leaving the Meng Wu clan, Lai Yunxiao muttered to himself, "I didn't expect to receive a disciple with the heaven and earth poison body. With such a strong physique, this brat's future achievements will definitely be among the best among my disciples." After pondering for a moment, he headed towards the Alchemist Guild. "It's time to refine a profound weapon for myself. Since I obtained Violet Sun's stones, I'll have to change my original refining method a bit." Every Arcane Refiner's Guild would have an array to strengthen the refinement process to the greatest extent possible to help the Arcane Refiner complete the refinement. However, after reaching a certain level, the effect of this kind of magic array would be negligible, almost negligible. Currently, Lai Yunxiao was only at the first stage warrior level. If he used the array, the amplification effect would be very considerable. As soon as he entered the Alchemist's Guild, he was immediately recognized by the sharp-eyed Lu Yao. She hurriedly ran forward and said, "Grandmaster Lai, Grandmaster Zhang and President Zhu are looking for you everywhere." Her tone became extremely respectful and her attitude became serious and humble. "Why are they looking for me? Is there something wrong with the princess?" Lai Yunxiao tilted his head and thought for a moment. "It shouldn't be the case. I'm here to borrow your guild's strengthening array." Lu Yao made an inviting gesture. "Let's go see Grandmaster Zhang and President Zhu first. Please follow me." Although she didn't know about Lai Yunxiao's treatment of the princess, she could see from the expressions of the senior arcane refiners in the guild that the president and the others valued Lai Yunxiao very much. Lai Yunxiao didn't really want to see them, but thinking that he still had something to ask of them, he reluctantly went to see them. Seeing his indifferent expression, Lu Yao couldn't help but smile bitterly in her heart. If it was anyone else who heard the summons of these two masters, they would have jumped to the sky in excitement. This brat was actually impatient. She also didn't know what was wrong with him. Lai Yunxiao followed Lu Yao to the third floor and walked into a spacious room. Not only Zhu Han, even Zhang Qingfen was there. Seeing him, joy flashed across their eyes. As if not daring to be careless, they hurriedly stood up and nodded. It was a greeting between equals. Lu Yao almost bit her tongue in shock. She didn't dare to stay any longer and hurriedly left after greeting them. However, Lai Yunxiao remained calm. He directly walked to the two and sat down. He crossed his legs and asked, "Do you need something from me?" The two of them looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Zhang Qingfen took out an invitation and handed it to Lai Yunxiao. "This is an invitation from His Majesty the King. There are two reasons for the banquet. One is to celebrate Luo Yunshang's promotion to Arcane Refiner, and the other is to celebrate the treatment of the princess. Apart from yourself, you can also bring 5 attendants with you." Lai Yunxiao received the gilded invitation and thought for a moment before putting it away. "That's all." Seeing that he was getting impatient, Zhang Qingfen smiled bitterly and went straight to the point. "We want to know if you are Lord Yang Dai's disciple." Lai Yunxiao replied, "No. No." Zhang Qingfen's eyes were filled with doubt. "Then your floating life seal and golden needle acupuncture technique." Lai Yunxiao directly cut him off. "If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first." He wasn't in the mood to talk about these things. After all, he couldn't explain it clearly. He stood up and prepared to leave. Zhang Qingfen froze. No one had ever dared to give him face. He glanced at Zhu Han and immediately saw the helplessness in the other party's eyes. Only then did he bitterly smile. "Young Master Yun, why are you so impatient? We invited you this time to thank you for saving the princess's life. This meager gift was prepared by me and Elder Zhu for you." There were 2 jade boxes on the table, one large and one small. Zhang Qingfen directly pushed them in front of Lai Yunxiao and looked at him with a smile. Lai Yunxiao furrowed his brows and opened the small jade box. Inside lay a small and exquisite badge. He didn't know what material it was made of, but it was neither gold nor jade. Lai Yunxiao was surprised. "A second-rank Arcane Refiner's badge." Zhu Han smiled. "Young Master Yun's golden needle acupuncture technique is far above that of a second-rank Arcane Refiner. However, This is only a 5th-rank branch of the Arcane Refiner Association, so I only have the authority to issue 2nd-rank badges. If you want a higher certification, you'll have to go to a 4th-rank branch to verify it. Lai Yunxiao pondered for a moment, then took it out and put it in his ring. This item is indeed not bad. Not to mention other things, just the monthly stipend alone is not a small sum. Many thanks. Zhu Han revealed a knowing smile and pointed at the long box. Young Master Yun, take a look at this. Lai Yunxiao smiled faintly. I don't need to look to know that it's a profound artifact. He opened the box, and as expected, a silver longsword lay in a red cloth, emitting a cold light. The sword's body flowed with water, like a jade spring. It was full of spirituality, and it was obviously not an ordinary item. This sword is called Spring Water, and it's my proudest work. It's a 3rd rank. What do you think of it, young Master Yun? Zhang Qingfen proudly explained, a trace of reluctance in his eyes. However, the two of them were itching to learn the golden needle acupuncture technique, so they could only reluctantly part with it. The golden needle acupuncture technique was far more valuable than this profound artifact. At first, the two of them were worried that this was a secret technique inherited from Yang Dai, and it couldn't be taught to outsiders. After hearing that Lai Yunxiao wasn't Yang Dai's direct disciple, they naturally didn't have such concerns, so they took out the treasure with ease. Lai Yunxiao picked up the longsword, examined it, and praised. Not bad. Although there are still many flaws, it's really commendable for you to be able to forge a profound artifact of this quality with your strength as a 3rd-rank arcane refiner. Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han's foreheads were filled with black lines. This brat's words were really infuriating. Such a precious artifact sword actually had many flaws. Lai Yunxiao glanced at them and smiled faintly. Are you guys very unconvinced? Lai Yunxiao chuckled. This spring water sword's main material should be the 4th-rank mystic water fantasy iron. According to your train of thought, you would definitely think that the higher the grade of the material, the better the profound artifact. However, with your 3rd-rank strength, it's impossible for you to understand the true structure of a 4th-rank material, so you can only forcefully change its form. Although the profound artifact forged this way is of the 3rd rank, it's not as stable as a profound artifact forged with 3rd-rank materials. Although the might it can unleash is greater, the requirements for the martial artist are also higher, and it's easier to break. His words instantly stunned the two of them, causing them to sink into deep thought. They had never thought about this problem before, and only wanted to raise the quality and grade of the profound artifact. Lai Yunxiao chuckled, and the aura of a grandmaster gradually spread out as if he had returned to the time before he fell, at the Arcane Refiners Guild headquarters, giving a lecture to the Arcane Refiners who came from all over the continent to make a pilgrimage. First of all, the choice of materials is already a grave mistake, and secondly, the supplementary materials are the same. They're all 4th-rank materials, and you can't control their true structure, so how can you harmoniously fuse them together? You only relied on soul power and true fire to forcefully fuse, and although you succeeded in the end, it's not a complete sword, but a product of sewing and patching together. Zhang Qingfen stared blankly at his spring water sword. This profound artifact, which he always felt more and more satisfied with the more he looked at it, had suddenly become a failed product in his eyes. It was like a simple pile of building blocks, and the more he looked at it, the more problems there were. Zhu Han's eyes were also filled with confusion, and she fell into deep thought. The two of them didn't dare to say a word, and carefully listened to Lai Yunxiao's explanation. Finally, we'll talk about the refining method and the choice of true fire. The stronger the true fire, the better. Master Zhang, you should be using a demonic beast's internal fire, right? Furthermore, it's a fire attribute demonic beast, which directly damaged the mysterious water fantasy iron's 5 elemental water power. Furthermore, the refining method is simple and crude, and there's no good fusion of every step. Apart from its grade, what else do you want to rely on it to refine something like this? After Lai Yunxiao finished speaking, the two of them were completely dumbstruck and looked at the spring water sword in a daze. Just now, the more they looked at it, the more problems they found, and now, the more they looked at it, the more trashy it was. How was this a sword? It was clearly a piece of scrap metal. Chapter 38. Master Yung Xiao, how do I refine a high-quality, profound artifact? Zhang Qingfen asked cautiously, not daring to breathe too loudly. In his eyes, Yung Xiao was no longer a mysterious youth, but a high and mighty arcane refinement master. Zhu Han also carefully breathed as he pricked up his ears to listen. The two of them looked as if they were thirsting for knowledge. At their level, especially in a place like the Aquaski nation, there was no one who could guide them in the art of arcane refinement. They could only learn from it by themselves. Hence, the two of them had an extraordinary relationship in the Aquaski nation. They were both teachers and friends, learning from each other and improving together. Now that a person had suddenly appeared, the path in front of them was instantly opened up. The originally dim and dark path was paved with bright sunlight. The two of them seemed to be able to faintly see the higher level of the Tao of sorcery beckoning to them. This was an extremely rare opportunity. The two of them became extremely excited as their expressions became extremely humble. It was as if they were primary school students seeking guidance. Yung Xiao smiled. I'm going to refine my own profound artifact, so I'll borrow your refining room. How much you can learn will depend on yourselves. How much you can learn will depend on yourselves. Such words were actually spoken by a 15-year-old youth to two third-grade master arcane refinement masters. If others were to find out, their brains would definitely explode. However, Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han were immediately overjoyed after being stunned for a moment. Through the conversation just now, they did not know how strong Yung Xiao was, but at the very least, he was stronger than them in terms of knowledge and cognition. As the saying goes, those who reach first. It was extremely rare to be able to learn even the slightest bit of knowledge in the art of arcane refinement. Everyone treasured their own knowledge. Ordinary arcane refinement masters could only make slight progress by exploring on their own. Especially at their level, it was extremely difficult for them to make any progress by relying on their own research. Hence, they could not let go of any opportunity. Zhu Han immediately gave the order, and soon, the best alchemy room was vacated. Other than Zhu Han and Zhang Qingfen, Yung Xiao also called Jia Rong over to watch the show. Jia Rong was even more excited. The incident with Zhun Liang last time made him miss the opportunity to learn acupuncture with golden needles. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. He called all his disciples and students over and gave them a harsh scolding. Everyone was required to go into seclusion and cultivate diligently. They were not allowed to cause trouble outside. Otherwise, they would be expelled from the sect. The group of disciples was so frightened that they had to restrain themselves. The auxiliary refining array was set up on the 5th floor of the Alchemist Guild. There was only one array in the entire 5th floor. It looked similar to a teleportation array, and it was filled with dense and complicated lines, emitting an ancient and calm aura. Yung Xiao praised, "The Aquaski nation's facilities are indeed not bad. Jaren Academy has a gravity field, and a rank 5 Alchemist Guild actually has a support array of this level. It's really beyond my expectations. This way the refinement will be much easier." Zhu Han smiled. "These were all set up by Lord Yang Dai when he was here." Yung Xiao nodded. "Jia Rong helped me prepare some materials. They're all ordinary things. The guild should have them." He recited a series of names, and Jia Rong hurriedly memorized them. When he was done, Jia Rong scratched his head and asked in surprise, Aren't these materials for refining pills?" Yung Xiao said, "That's right. I just accepted a disciple, and I'm planning to help him refine some antidotes and energy-boosting pills. The level of this auxiliary array is beyond my expectations. I can also refine pills while refining weapons." Zhu Han, Zhang Qingfen, Jia Rong. Yung Xiao frowned. "Why are you still in a daze? Why aren't you going?" Jia Rong's face was bitter. Young Master Yun, leave the refining of these pills to me. You should focus on refining weapons." What kind of joke was this? He had never heard of an array being used to refine weapons and pills at the same time. It was rare that Lai Yunxiao was willing to do it himself. He didn't want to see a failed refinement. Lai Yunxiao's expression instantly darkened. "Jia Rong, so you're not interested in watching me refine?" "I haven't." "Wait a moment, young Master Yun." 5 minutes. Jia Rong's expression changed drastically. He rushed out like lightning, and by the time he shouted this, he was already several floors down. Zhu Han also swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said speechlessly, "Master Yun Xiao, forget about the same array carrying out 2 different refinements. Even refining 2 array formations separately is unheard of." Lai Yunxiao's expression didn't change. "Not only can you smell it now, but you can also see it with your own eyes." Zhang Qingfen nudged Zhu Han lightly and shook his head slightly. The two of them exchanged glances. What they meant was that this young man was impatient, impulsive, and liked to cause trouble. Once he failed, he would suffer a little, and after the setback, he would naturally change. "Let him do as he pleases for now." Jia Rong quickly rushed in with a storage bag in his hand. He poured out the materials one by one. The materials Lai Yunxiao reported were all ordinary materials. Jia Rong took out all the materials from the storage and piled them up on the floor. Lai Yunxiao inspected them and was very satisfied. He walked around the array formation in the center. There were all kinds of refining tools placed all around him. He chose a pill furnace and tapped it lightly. It made a sound of empty. And this is it. Lai Yunxiao picked up the top of the cauldron and threw it to the left of the array. With a slap, the lid flew up. He made a grabbing motion, and all the materials on the floor flew into the cauldron. The lid closed with a boom. Jia Rong was surprised. "Young Master Yun, aren't you going to refine 2 kinds of pills?" Lai Yunxiao grunted. "To save the trouble, I'll put the materials in at the same time." "What? 2 kinds of pills in 1 cauldron? Put the materials in at the same time?" Jia Rong was dumbfounded. "And refining a profound weapon at the same time." This time, even Zhang Qingfen couldn't remain calm. His head was spinning. "Heavens, does this kid really know the art of refining? What's going on with me? How could I let him do as he pleases, and even call him Master Yunxiao?" A series of question marks filled his head. He even started to doubt his own intelligence. How could he believe this kid's words? Zhu Han also fainted. The two of them were almost 100 years old. Why were they messing around with this kid? It was all because they were scared by his words earlier. Now that they were serious, they were exposed. I should have just asked him for the golden needle acupuncture technique. I even foolishly came to watch him refine. Heavens, I even gave him a rank 2 alchemist badge. Is there something wrong with my head? The two of them looked like frosted eggplants. They gloomily looked at Lai Yunxiao fooling around by himself. They had already come to a conclusion about Lai Yunxiao in their hearts. He was a profligate young master who only knew how to boast. Who knew where he had learned the golden needle acupuncture technique. What made them even more depressed was that the two of them were reputable figures in the Akwaski nation, but they were actually blindsided for a moment. If this matter were to spread out, where would they put their faces? Just as the 3 of them were lost in their own thoughts, Lai Yunxiao finally began to move. After taking a light step, his body suddenly spun in the array. His feet seemed to be following a set of strange footwork. The footwork matched the hand seals in his hands. With every step he took, a corresponding incantation would be sent into the array. The hundreds of primal stones that were embedded around the formation emitted a violent burst of Yuan Kai that flowed into the formation. The simple and unadorned lines that were carved on the formation were like the meridians of a human body. Under the scouring of the Yuan Kai, they became active. However, not all the lines had origin Kai flowing through them. A huge array formation only emitted a strong array intent in the middle. Wisps of true fire shot out from a few array eyes and began to heat up the cauldron. On the other side of the pill furnace, a few void fire shot out from the eyes of the array. They condensed in the air and became stronger and stronger. What's going on? Zhu Han's originally gloomy face instantly froze. He muttered to himself, "Only a part of the entire array was activated? Isn't the array a whole?" Could it be that this kid's strength is too weak and can only activate a small part? Zhang Qingfen also couldn't wrap his head around the situation. He said in shock, "An array can only be activated successfully or not. How can it be activated partially? It should be because this kid's strength is too weak. But why do I feel that the true fire is much stronger than when we use it normally? A bunch of good-for-nothings." "Shut your mouths and watch carefully." Lai Yunxiao's voice rang out from the array. This spirit awakening non-phase auxiliary array is formed by a total of 48 basic arrays. They correspond to 48 basic refining methods. 2 by 2, 3 by 3, it can give rise to countless auxiliary effects. That's why it can become a powerful auxiliary array. If I activate all of them every time, just maintaining the array will consume a large amount of energy and soul power. How can I refine it? Right now, I only need to refine simple level 1 pills and level 1 profound weapons. So if I use 12 basic refining methods, I can extend it to 108 types. That's enough. Heavens, so that's how it is. God, it's actually like this. Oh my God, this is just simple refining. Just kill me. The gloominess of the two was instantly swept away. Their eyes widened, and their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. Although they couldn't understand some of Lai Yunxiao's actions, they couldn't suppress their excitement as their bodies started to tremble violently. The three of them instantly eliminated all kinds of distracting thoughts and didn't even dare to blink. It was because they knew that a brand new door was opening for them on the path of alchemy that was filled with endless darkness and difficulty. A ray of sunlight started to shine in through the crack of the door, chapter 39. During the refinement process, every ounce of concentration and energy must be used on the blade. Thus, the selection and activation of the formation is an extremely important step. Therefore, a good arcane refiner must also be a formation master. The fact that Yang Dai was able to set up this spirit awakening formless auxiliary formation proves that his mastery of formations far surpasses yours. As Lai Yunxiao explained, the materials on his body began to melt into the true fire in the sky. He used his divine sense to control the firepower on both sides and the degree of refinement of the various materials. Young Master Yun, oh God, Tilda Jia Rong trembled as he watched. Didn't you say that every ounce of concentration is extremely important? Then how could he be distracted by refining and talking to us at the same time? This, Lai Yunxiao's expression darkened as he angrily said, "Idiot, do you think I want to talk? I'm just worried that you idiots won't understand. Then I won't talk anymore. Take your time and watch." "Ah, Tilda." Jia Rong suddenly felt a chill run down his spine and he sucked in a breath of cold air. Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han glared at him with bloodshot eyes. They were like two wild beasts that had gone berserk, glaring at him. The anger on their faces was enough to tear his bones and tear his tendons apart. Their gazes looked like they wanted to swallow him whole. Plop, Tilda, his legs turned to jelly, and he fell to the ground in fright. He covered his mouth with his hands, hating himself for saying the wrong thing. "No, don't, young Master Yun, I was wrong." "HMP. Lai Yunxiao snorted and ignored him. Instead, he focused all his attention on the refinement process. With his current soul power, it was very difficult for him to refine 3 items at the same time. Fortunately, his physical body was extremely tough, and he could rely on extremely powerful techniques to make up for some of his lack of soul power. This surprised him quite a bit. The strength of his physical body was much stronger than he had expected when it came to assisting in the refinement process. Lai Yunxiao's movements were as smooth as flowing water. There wasn't the slightest obstruction, and it gave off a sense of extreme beauty. The three of them were extremely shocked. I didn't think that refining could be so artistic. As time passed, the movements of his body gradually slowed down, but the incantation gestures of his hands increased in frequency. Suddenly, a bright light burst out of his eyes, and he coldly said again, "The true fire of the alchemy furnace is stabilized at a certain range, and now it is already in the pill formation stage. Next, watch me refine the Xuan weapon." Both of his hands continued to form various complicated hand seals. Streams of true fire shot out from the formation. It was as though a fire dragon was being controlled by his palms. From time to time, it would spew towards the direction of the profound weapon and the pill furnace. Especially on the right side of the formation, the true fire wrapped around a ball of bright, football-sized liquid in midair like a wave. ZZZT, ZZZT. Tilde bubbling sounds could be heard from within the liquid. All three of them knew that it was burning away the impurities within. Lai Yunxiao's fine control of rhythm and movements had completely conquered the eyes of the three. Every movement was like a wonderful art, shocking people's hearts. Lai Yunxiao's eyes suddenly lit up as he shouted. The impurities within the liquid seemed to have been burned away, and the sound became softer and softer. Black lines began to circulate on the surface of the spherical liquid. Slowly, the black color spread out, and the entire sphere became a ball of ink, constantly changing shape in the air. This is Essence Iron Origin form? Jiang Qingfen's eyes widened, and he couldn't help but cry out involuntarily. He immediately realized that he had lost his composure and hurriedly covered his mouth, the shock in his eyes increasing. When the other two heard this, their bodies suddenly trembled, and they looked at the ball of ink in disbelief as it constantly changed shape in the air. However, the flow became slower and slower, as though it was about to solidify. Rank 1 arcane refiners should use Rank 1 materials honestly. Only then can they deepen their understanding of the construction of various materials. Even if it's just ordinary fine iron, when you can refine it into the origin form, you can also use it to forge profound weapons. Lai Yunxiao explained coldly. He didn't dare to speak anymore, and his face began to turn pale. The exhaustion of his entire body and mind was extremely great. He took out a purple ore and directly threw it into the ball of ink. It was the violet sunstone that he had shamelessly taken from Meng Bai. Sizzle, sizzle, tilde. After throwing in the violet sunstone, sizzling sounds rang out incessantly. Clouds of purple mist quickly rose up, and immediately filled the entire technique refining room. However, the three of them were all arcane masters with extremely strong soul power. This bit of mist did not affect their vision at all. All of them opened their eyes wide and stared at the Essence Iron Origin form. Apart from Jia Rong, Jiang Qingfen and Zhu Han could clearly see the state of the violet sun stone in the Essence Iron Origin form. As they watched the ball of liquid gradually take shape, and the surface no longer flowed erratically but gradually stabilized, the two of them couldn't help but become nervous. Their hands were covered in cold sweat, and their clothes were already soaked. They were even more tired than refining on their own. Lai Yunxiao also concentrated and took a deep breath. He gently exhaled the impure air in his body and shouted, "Condense!" Origin energy bloomed from his hands, and the frequency of his hands instantly increased by several times. Spell after spell seemed to be shot out at the same time and flew into the Essence Iron Origin form. The black liquid Essence Iron Origin form rapidly rotated in the air and gradually formed into the shape of a heavy sword and became more and more solid. Ha! Lai Yunxiao roared, and his fingers formed a claw as he fiercely slapped at the heavy sword. Bang! The sword emitted a long, rumbling sound and directly flew out from the array formation. With a clang, it stabbed into the wall of the room. The entire sword was black and swarthy, and it looked like an iron rod. Moreover, it had not been sharpened. As the three of them were stunned, Lai Yunxiao's movements danced once more. His palms were like butterflies fluttering in the air, and they struck the pill furnace. Bang! 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 Banging sounds rang out incessantly. The pill furnace was greatly shaken, and it began to sway and shake violently. The lid of the furnace constantly struck against the body of the furnace, and it made a lot of noise. Bang! Finally, Lai Yunxiao suddenly struck out with both palms, and he slammed them into the pill furnace. With a loud explosion, the lid of the pill furnace was instantly shattered into pieces and flew into the air. A dense mist rose into the air, and the three of them suddenly took a deep breath. They immediately felt refreshed, and the exhaustion caused by the nervousness of the entire process was instantly swept away. Phew! Tilda Lai Yunxiao let out a sigh, and his entire body seemed to have been sucked dry. He was dispirited, and his face was abnormally pale. Jia Rong was the first to react, and he hurriedly went forward to support Lai Yunxiao. He passed a handful of pills to him and said, "Young Master Yun, slow down, slow down." Lai Yunxiao opened the pill bottle that Jia Rong passed to him, opened the cap and smelled it suspiciously. He immediately threw it behind his head and he frowned. "Such a low purity heart-soul pill, it's more suitable to be fed to pets. Is it for humans to eat?" Jia Rong looked at the shattered pills on the floor with a long face, and he even had the thought of dying. This heart-soul-soul pill was the most treasured treasure of arcane raffiners. It was a second-grade pill, and he had paid a high price to buy it. Any pill was worth thousands of gold, but Lai Yunxiao just threw it away like it was trash. "Master Yunxiao, I have high-purity pills here." Zhang Qingfen hurriedly took out a large pile of pills and handed them over with both hands. His humble manner was not much different from the arcane refinement apprentices outside. Zhu Han also jogged over and hurriedly took out all the good things he had on him. "I also have this. Boundless spirit fruit that can restore vitality, Chuo Luo flower that can nourish the soul, white crane fantasy pill that can make an immortal want to die." He recommended them one by one, as if he was afraid that Lai Yunxiao would not do him the honor and refuse his pills. Lai Yunxiao frowned. "White crane fantasy pill, isn't this an aphrodisiac?" "Ah." Zhu Han was taken aback and his face turned red. He said awkwardly, this is for Elder Zhang." Zhang Qingfen's face turned green and he said angrily, "Zhu Han, tell me clearly which Elder Zhang." Lai Yunxiao picked up the white crane fantasy pill, threw it into his mouth and swallowed it under the dumbfounded gazes of the three. "I'll take this. The others are all trash. It's not as fast as meditating for a few minutes to recover." "This," Jia Rong's forehead was covered in cold sweat. "Young Master Yun, you just ate a level 2 aphrodisiac, are you all right?" Zhu Han's expression changed, and he hurriedly said, "Hurry up and help Master Yunxiao to my room. Jia Rong, call all the waitresses in the guild over and let Master Yunxiao choose." Cold sweat appeared on Lai Yunxiao's forehead. "This next time I'll leave the opportunity for next time. I've just exhausted my essence, energy, and spirit, and my body is a little weak." Jia Rong's eyes widened, and he suddenly said, "I understand. So young Master Yun has a taste. I'll immediately gather all the male waitresses." Lai Yunxiao fiercely smacked him on the head. "The white crane fantasy pill is refined from immortal crane snake grass, and immortal crane snake grass is a level 3 great nourishing ingredient. The hallucinatory effect of the little monkey grass is nothing to me." He took a deep breath and began to circulate the Kai of creation, directly absorbing the origin power inside the pill. The three of them were covered in cold sweat, but none of them dared to disturb him. They began to sit on his left and right, recovering their strength as they recalled the process of Lai Yunxiao's refinement. The impact of Lai Yunxiao's refinement this time was undoubtedly subversive to them. The three of them felt as if they were in a dream, and they couldn't quite believe what they had just seen. Just like that, the refinement room on the 5th floor of the guild was completely silent. Only a faint fragrance came from the pill furnace from time to time, and there was also a dark iron sword stuck diagonally into the wall, waiting for its master. Phew! After an unknown amount of time, Lai Yunxiao let out a long breath, and his shriveled skin finally regained some color. He lamented, "Sigh, I've finally recovered a third of my original appearance. This kind of refinement consumes too much essence, energy, and spirit." Zhang Qingfen and the other two opened their eyes at the same time, and Jia Rong said in shock, "Young Master Yun, you've only recovered a third of your soul power." "Amen, what's so strange about it? I only have a rank 1 warrior rank soul power, so it's normal for me to recover faster than you guys. But, isn't this a little too fast? I also have rank 1 soul power, and it takes at least 7 days to fully recover after each refinement. What kind of trash are you? You want to compete with me?" Lai Yunxiao glared at Jia Rong, scaring him into shrinking his head and not daring to speak. Chapter 40. Jiang Qingfen and Zhu Han also looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They didn't dare to reply. In case they were scolded as trash, where would they put their old faces? Lai Yunxiao suddenly flashed a charming smile at Zhu Han. He, President Zhu, what you said just now, about the matter of arranging for female waitresses. Don't forget about it next time. Zhu Han. Lai Yunxiao stood up, walked to the wall, and pulled out the black iron greatsword. The entire sword was pitch black, without any luster or sharpness, just like a big iron rod, not at all outstanding. This time, Jia Rong learned his lesson and didn't dare to say anything, carefully standing behind to serve. Lai Yunxiao took a few glances at the big iron sword, and a trace of a smile appeared in his eyes, and he praised. Not bad, it's about what I expected. Master Zhang, Master Zhu, what do you think? He handed the black iron greatsword to the two of them. Jiang Qingfen hurriedly said, Master Yunxiao, just call my name. Master doesn't dare. He used his hand to lightly touch the big iron sword, and slowly felt it with his soul power. Zhu Han also looked carefully, and his brows were clearly furrowed, then gradually relaxed, and his eyes were filled with surprise. How is it? Lai Yunxiao asked with a smile. Jiang Qingfen knew that he was testing the two of them, and immediately didn't dare to be careless, and said thoughtfully, Grade 1, the structure is perfect, as if it was created by the heaven and earth, and there is a great amount of power flowing within. I have never seen such a harmonious, profound weapon. However, the entire body is in the original state of fine iron. May I ask, Master Yunxiao, how do you unseal this sword? What kind of state will it be after unsealing? Profound weapons were a type of weapon that contained a great amount of energy. The raffiner's refining process could only simplify the path to this state of energy release, which was the so-called unsealed state. However, Lai Yunxiao's profound weapon was already in the unsealed state of energy release. To be able to directly refine a profound weapon in the unsealed state, the three of them had never heard of it before. However, in just a few hours, the knowledge barrier of the past had been completely subverted, so it was no longer strange. Lai Yunxiao nodded and said, That's right. During the refining process, I condensed this state of energy explosion so it can't be unsealed again in battle. But did you see the violet sun stone that I placed in afterwards? Violet sun stone? Zhu Han thought for a moment. Isn't that a crucial material for laying down a gravity array? Lai Yunxiao laughed. It's the gravity array. I have integrated 2 gravity arrays into the unsealed Xuan weapon. Watch carefully, I'm going to undo the seal. As his voice fell, Jiang Qingfen and the other two suddenly felt a huge pulling force coming from the ground. The three of them were instantly sucked into the ground, and it was difficult for them to move. Zhu Han exclaimed, 10 times the gravity? Lai Yunxiao smiled and said, That's right. It's 10 times the gravity. However, I had only set up one of the gravity formations, and there was another one that contained 10 times the normal gravity. Stacked on top of each other, it would be 100 times the normal gravity. It's a pity that this violet sun stone is too little. Otherwise, if I had condensed 3 formations on top of it, I would have been able to produce 1,000 times the normal gravity. But this way, this Xuan weapon wouldn't be able to withstand such a strong pulling force. I'm afraid that the moment the 3 formations are unsealed, it would perish by itself. 3 formations, 3 times unsealed. The 3 of them were completely stunned. Their minds were blank as they looked at this colorless dark steel heavy sword. A Xuan weapon could still be unsealed 3 times in an unsealed state. What kind of concept was this? Lai Yunxiao had once again subverted their common sense. Jiang Qingfen swallowed his saliva. Yunxiao Grandmaster, can you let us study this sword for a few days? Zhu Han and Jia Rong's eyes also lit up, and their faces were filled with anticipation. Lai Yunxiao curled his lips and said coldly, Humph, if I give you 3 trash to study, then what will I use? Don't tell me I'll use that trash spring water sword of yours. Jiang Qingfen and Zhu Han smiled bitterly. They were still unceremoniously called trash by the other party. But when they thought about what they had seen and learned in the past few hours, they realized that they were indeed trash in the past. As Zhang Qingfen thought about his spring water sword, he also felt that it was more and more trash. A trace of shame even flashed across his face. He really wanted to ask Lai Yongxiao to return it and destroy it. He couldn't let anyone know that he was the one who had refined it. Jia Rong felt much better when he saw the 2 rank 3 arcane refiners remain silent after being called trash by young Master Yun. He even faintly felt that being called trash by young Master Yun was a kind of honor, a kind of status, and a kind of happiness. A sense of pride welled up in his heart. Lai Yongxiao thought for a moment and said, "This sword is mainly used for cultivation. This way I can endure 10 or even 100 times the normal gravity every day. Only then will I be able to cultivate by leaps and bounds. As the saying goes, a heavy sword is not sharp, and its size does not matter. Then I will name this sword Black Girl." Originally, when Lai Yongxiao said, "A heavy sword is not sharp, and its size does not matter," the 3 of them faintly felt that there was a trace of law contained within it. Their hearts trembled, and they were extremely surprised. However, when they heard the name of the sword, they immediately fainted. Jia Rong wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and weakly asked, "Young Master Yun, what does a heavy sword that is not sharp, and its size does not matter, have to do with the name Black Girl?" Lai Yongxiao said, "It's fine, I was just saying it casually." The 3 of them fainted again after he put away the Black Girl's sword. He walked over to the pill furnace. A few hours had passed, but the fragrance of the pills still wafted into his nostrils, making him feel refreshed. Inside the furnace, 2 pills of different colors were placed in a distinctly different position. There were a total of 4 milky white vitality boosting pills and 10 light green detoxification pills. All of them were crystal clear and radiated with a faint glow. "Ah, pure-grade pills?" Zhu Han exclaimed in shock, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. Jia Rong had seen Lai Yongxiao directly purify a finished pill before, so he was already mentally prepared for it. When he saw the shocked expressions on the 2 masters' faces, a sense of superiority welled up in his heart. He wanted nothing more than to laugh out loud. "Haha, these are the pills refined by my master. As a servant, I am so blessed." The vitality boosting pill was a kind of profound breakthrough pill that a chakra martial disciple took to advance to the first origin realm. It could greatly increase the chances of breaking through. However, every martial disciple could only take it once. If they failed to break through, there would be no effect even if they took it again. Therefore, although there were many vitality-boosting pills on the market, their prices varied according to their quality. An existence as pure as Lai Yongxiao's had never appeared before. Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han were almost certain that as long as a martial practitioner with 7 chakras opened took this pill, as long as they weren't a dead pig, they would have a 100% chance of breaking through. "All right, thank you for lending me the refining room. As a reward, I will spend an hour answering your questions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Apart from refining and martial arts, I am also quite accomplished in music, formations, painting, chess, and picking up girls. I can answer your questions one by one." Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han were overjoyed, but then they felt a little dizzy. There was no way they would use such precious time to ask about picking up girls, so they hurriedly asked all the questions they had. Lai Yongxiao started answering them one by one. Although Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han were famous, that was only in the Tianshui nation. On the other hand, Lai Yongxiao was a 9th-rank emperor-level refiner in his previous life. Countless high-level alchemists from all over the continent came to him to ask for guidance. Teaching the 2 of them was as easy as teaching a primary school student. Although Jia Rong didn't ask a single question, the things he learned were more than he knew in his entire life. He forcefully memorized all the questions and answers of the 3 of them, waiting to write them out as soon as he got back, afraid that he would forget them. The more Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han asked, the more shocked and obsessed they became. Soon an hour had passed. Master Yongxiao. Zhang Qingfen was completely convinced now, his eyes filled with admiration and respect. He stood up together with Zhu Han and bowed deeply. "Thank you, Master, for answering our questions. Lai Yunxiao didn't show any signs of dodging. He calmly accepted the bow of the two, then turned around and left. His laughter rang out from afar. "I'll be leaving first. I'll come teach you guys again when I have time. Oh right, President Zhu, remember to make arrangements next time. Don't forget about it. Zhu Han." Jiang Qingfen looked at Lai Yunxiao's disappearing figure, then stood up and took a deep breath. "Elder Zhu, what do you think of Master Yunxiao?" A bitter smile flashed through Zhu Han's eyes as he said in a low voice, "Unfathomable." Jiang Qingfen muttered, "Unfathomable, truly unfathomable." I was fortunate enough to ask Master Yang Dai about some refinement techniques more than 10 years ago. Back then, Master Yang Dai gave me a very similar feeling to Master Yunxiao, really very similar. Zhu Han was puzzled, but he already said that he's not Yang Dai's disciple. As alchemists, what we value the most is respect for our teachers and teachings. If Master Yunxiao really is Master Yang Dai's disciple, he definitely wouldn't deny it. Jiang Qingfen shook his head, a trace of shock flashing through his eyes. "I believe he's not Master Yang Dai's disciple. Because the feeling he gives me, compared to Master Yang Dai, a sharp light suddenly shot out of his eyes, is even more unfathomable than Master Yang Dai." Lai Yunxiao walked towards Meng Wu's home after leaving the Refinement Masters Guild. He had first given the siblings pills, and secondly, after absorbing Meng Bai's body poison, he could vaguely feel that his strength had improved by quite a bit. He planned to find a place to cultivate in seclusion. The academy was on vacation now, and the Lai family was in a troublesome situation. The outskirts where Meng Wu and her brother lived was undoubtedly the best place. When Lai Yunxiao arrived at the outskirts, he discovered that the house was already empty. He waited for a long time before he saw Meng Wu return. She was still wearing the hotel attendant's uniform, and she hadn't had time to change out of it. "Young Master Yun, why are you here?" She was overjoyed, but she saw Lai Yunxiao's unfriendly expression, so she asked carefully, "What's wrong?" Lai Yunxiao's face darkened, and he said coldly, "Where's Meng Bai?" Meng Wu said uneasily. As soon as he recovered, he went to dig with the uncle next door. "Sister, I'm back." Meng Bai ran in from outside with a happy expression. He was stunned when he saw Lai Yunxiao, and then he happily poured out a large pile of raw primal stones from his storage bag. He said excitedly, "Master, sister, look, I dug so many primal stones today." Slap. Lai Yunxiao slapped Meng Bai and sent him flying. "Kneel."